Right, Auto One, we've got a 2008 Chevy Silverado out here that we're going to be inspecting the cooling system. Let me show you a couple things. First, I'm going to take the camera and show you how we know it's a 2008 Silverado. So it says Silverado right there. And if I open the driver's door, and right here on the tag, you can see there's the VIN number. I don't know if it's auto-focusing. It says 11-07, so we know it's after September, so it's a 2008. And we'll just confirm the model year on the underhood sticker. Here's the underhood sticker, and it says that the model year conforms to, should say 2008, but I'm not seeing it there. Let me get this a little cleaner. Okay, there it is, 2008 right there. And then there's the engine code. It's a 4.8 liter. And it's actually a V8. And if you look over here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 wires. And then, even if you don't know what they are, they're the same. And the other 4 are there. Okay? So what I'm going to do first is show you how I take off some covers to give me better access to what I want to see on the cooling system. So first, I took this top engine cover off, which is over here. This cover sat like this back in here, and it had, I just lifted, it has a little push pins here, and I just lifted it up to get it out of the way. I've taken off this plastic cover so I can show you how you can see the radiator and some other things. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you how I pull this clip up. When you see a clip like this, you just pop the center up, and then the whole clip will just pull out. There it is. So when you push the center down, it swedges it out and holds it in. So I took all those clips out. You can see them there on the cart, so I could pull this cover off so we get a better look at this cover now, or what's underneath. I pull that off, and now you can see pretty clearly quite a bit of the cooling system. And I'll do a visual inspection first. This is the air conditioning condenser. It looks just like a radiator. Behind it is the radiator itself. So there's the engine's radiator. It has a plastic tank running vertically. It's a little hard to see. Now you can see it. And it has a plastic tank running vertically on this side. And now you can see that. No visual signs of leaking on that radiator at all. But you can see that the air comes through the grill here at the front. You can see it goes right in through the AC condenser and then into the radiator. So theoretically, this AC condenser is not helping the cooling efficiency of that radiator, and that's true. But when we're up above freeway speeds, the temperature of this is such that it doesn't affect that too much. Then this is another little cooler here. This is either a transmission cooler or it's a power steering cooler. So I'm looking at the lines and see where they go. Or it could be an oil cooler too. And when I look at the lines and see where they go, it actually looks like a power steering cooler. That looks like a little power steering cooler there. I'd have to follow the lines a little more specifically. Plenty of room up here to put an automatic transmission cooler if we wanted to add one to this vehicle. It's a small V8, so we're probably not towing heavy loads with it. But if we do fill the bed up of it with sand or dirt and we got people in the car, it might be kind of nice to have an automatic transmission cooler. So as I look at the radiator just visually, and I look at all the fins, they look okay. I don't see any leaks. I don't see any huge dirtiness, although there are some bugs and some things down there. I'll look at it from the inside. So here's the fans, but you can see the fins in there. They look pretty good in there. And you can see there's another fan over there, so there's 2 fans. And we can confirm that the fans work quickly by turning the car on, turning the AC on, and then we'll see those fans come on. Let's do that right now. So you can see that I have the air conditioning on, and there. And I'll shut the AC off with this looking down there, and you should be able to see them shut off. Sorry, I'm going to give you this step. Okay, so you can see those guys coasting to a stop. So at least that tells us right off the bat that we know that the fans work. We'll have to look at them more closely to know if they come on when the engine gets hot. We'll do that in just a little bit. So what we're going to look at next is we're going to look for leaks. So we're looking here at this clamp, this hose. No signs of leak there. Look at the other hose as it comes down here. You can see this hose right here. There's no signs of leak there. You can see that this is the water pump. This silvery item here is the water pump. That looks like it's got a brand new water pump. It's pretty obvious to me somebody's replaced that water pump recently. You can see the silver look right back in here. Okay, in addition to that, we have two heater hoses. They go back in there underneath there. We can see the clamps, and there's no signs of leak there. We follow the hoses down where they attach. It's a little bit dark there to see, so I'm going to get a flashlight and we'll look a little bit more carefully there. One sec. So with a flashlight, I can see, sorry about the camera, I can see those heater hoses where they connect right there, those two hoses with the clamps, and there's no leaking there. And again, I get a really good view of that radiator hose connection there. And again, those heater hose connections back in there, a little hard to see, but there they are. There's no signs of leak there. And then under the car, you go down here underneath the car, you can go back. Okay, so there's a shield that we'd have to pull off to be able to look at the bottom of the radiator and at the lower radiator hose. But down there, actually, I can see the lower radiator hose. There it is, all the way down there. We'll get the light on it better. Right there. Okay, you can see it, it's not leaking. And then there's a couple of coolant hoses off the radiator and tranny cooler lines, and there's no leaks. So doesn't appear to be any signs of leaks. We'll go ahead and pressure test the system in just a little bit. So the next thing we want to think about is which of these two hoses, this one here, the top hose, or this one down here, the bottom hose, which you can, let me get the flashlight on it so you can see a little better, or the bottom hose down there, you can see it with its clamp. Which of these leads to the thermostat? Well, I think it's the bottom hose because I can see the cover down there. I can see that cover. I'm going to get the light off. There it is. Right to the right of that clamp down there. And I'll put my hand, this is the cover right here. I think it's underneath there because that one appears to have it, whereas this one here goes onto the water pump. So from experience, I think it's that bottom one. But if I start the engine and feel this hose and feel this hose down here, the one that stays cold longer or gets hot last, that's the hose that leads to the thermostat. And additionally to that, one of the ways I can know to never open up this pressurized recovery tank with its warnings on the top. There's no radiator cap on the there's no cap on the radiator. It just has a pressurized recovery tank here. I know I can open this if this hose is stone cold and this hose is stone cold, meaning they've been sitting overnight and they're very, very cold. Or I took an industrial fan like that one over there and I placed it in front of the grill here. I cooled it down for 15 minutes and I take the garden hose and run it over the top and into that radiator. Not on the engine because you could hurt something that's hot like the exhaust manifold, but just here on the radiator there. I can cool the engine down quickly that way. But as long as those two hoses are cold, I can open up this pressurized recovery tank. And this one's really tight, but I did get it open. You can see there is coolant in there, and it looks red. And I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this and smell it. If it smells like dead fish, then we'll definitely want to change it. It doesn't smell that bad. Okay, we'll leave this off because we are going to pressure test this, assuming we have the right adapter to pressurize this. But we've given this thing a really good inspection. We haven't found any leaks. We've identified that it looks like the water pump is recently replaced. We know that the fans work at least with the AC on. And we know that on this car, there is a sensor that tells these fans to come on when the engine's hot. So at the end of this little inspection of the cooling system, I'll share screen and we'll look up and see if we can see on the wiring diagram where that guy is. So let me go ahead and put the camera down for a moment, grab my pressure tester, and we'll continue. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how to pressure test the cooling system to be able to see if you have any leaks. So I'll put the camera right there, although it's a little hard with the light there, and we'll show you the adapters I have. I have these different adapters. This one right here will work for this guy. I believe I tried it, and I did lubricate that. I put some water on this O-ring so it would seal, and I just got to thread it on there. Start it carefully. It looks like I got it cross-threaded, so I'm going to start it carefully because it does have plastic threads on the tank. And so this is an adapter to put what's called a little pressure tester on here. So I'm going to snug it all the way down, and it stops there. And then I'm going to put my pressure tester on here. So this is the pressure tester here. It's a just a handheld pump with a gauge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thread this on, or actually it just twists on. Like that. You want to make sure that this little rotating wing is free. When that thing's up on these top two ramps, it's releasing pressure. So we want it to apply pressure, so we want it free. So we're going to go ahead and start pumping pressure in here. And it'll take some time, but it's going. This is a 20 psi cap. The cap says 20 psi right there. So we're going to pump this up to close to 20 psi, getting up close to 15 there. Sorry, I'm at about 12. Now I'm up around 15. I'll go up at least to the red there, where they tell you not to go any further. So I'm up at about 17. Okay, so we'll just watch it for a moment and see if it holds pressure. And sorry, focus, dear guy. Seems to be holding pressure pretty well, just a little under 17 psi. I'm going to look under the car and see if I see any leaks, and I don't. I look at the radiator, look at the radiator hoses, see if I see any leaks down in there or down there, and I might get my flashlight so I can see this bottom one. I don't see any leaks there. I don't see any leaks there. Everything appears to be fine. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and take the pressure off by rotating this. And if you do it fast, you'll see the coolant level in the bottle goes up and down because it wants to squirt out. So I'm going to kind of just release it slowly so I don't squirt a bunch of coolant out. And I'll take this guy off, and then I'll unthread my adapter. Okay, next I want to come over here to the cart, turn this guy around for you, and I'm going to go ahead and pressure test the cap and see if the cap holds pressure. So I put this adapter on there. It's a way of testing to make sure the cap holds pressure. Because you know this cap needs to hold, it's a 20 psi cap, so it needs to hold 20 pounds per square inch, so we can lower the boiling point 3 psi, sorry, 3 degrees, raise the boiling point, sorry, 3 degrees for every 1 pound of pressure. Wow. Okay, so this one's holding nothing, so it makes me wonder if I have this adapter on correctly. Seems like I do, and you see, yeah, it's holding nothing. So now I'm going to double check the adapter on the cap. There. And seems like should be sealing. This O-ring is supposed to seal down inside there, and it sure appeared that it was. And it sure looks like it was, but this cap wasn't holding any pressure. So I'm going to assume that this cap is bad, and I'll probably order a new one and then test the new one to verify that my adapter is correct. And if it tests the same way, then I'm going to assume that it's my adapter and not my cap, okay? And I can return the cap if I need to. Okay, so the purpose of pressure testing is to see if we can find any leaks in the cooling system and to verify that the cap's holding pressure. I find that caps last about 2 to 3 years, and then they stop holding pressure consistently when I test them. We want to do 2 more things today. What we want to do is we're going to do a little test on the belt to see if the belt's worn, and I'll get a little gauge for that, and I'll do that in just a moment. And then one other thing is we'll go ahead and start the car and run it till we feel the thermostat open and confirm that the thermostat's opening and look at the gauge temperature. Sorry, I'm not sure why it's not focusing. Come on, focus, dude. Come on. All right, I'll get it focused. We'll be right back. 1 sec. All right, I got my camera focused, and I got my headlamp on so you can see. What we're going to do is we're going to check this belt. This little gauge is made such that if we put this gauge inside the groove of this belt and it sticks up proud, then the belt is new. If it sits below the surface like this one is, the belt is worn. So we're checking the depth of wear in the grooves. And on some of these grooves, that's worn, that's worn. This one's not as worn, but yeah, we would say that that belt is pretty worn by using this little gauge to see. Again, if it sits flush, it's okay, or sits proud, which means the orange thing stands up tall. But if it's below the surface of the belt's worn. So I would say that that belt is significantly worn. It has an AC belt. You could check that one as well, but we'll leave it go for just a moment. Let me put the camera up here. Okay, I've started this truck, 08 Silverado, and it's cold right now. Put my hand over here on the radiator, it's completely cold. While it's warming up, I want you to know it's nice and quiet now, but the reason why it's got donated is once the engine heats up and the oil gets hot and thin, you'll start to hear the lifters starting to clack. And at idle, if you look on the dash, the oil pressure icon is starting to come on. If I take the throttle up to about 1500, 2000 RPM, the lifters quiet down, oil pressure light goes off. It's full of oil, the oil's clean, but obviously it has a low oil pressure situation. Either the pump is worn out or the bearings are worn out. It has 317,000 miles on it, so both we expect. What we're going to do in kind of fixing this car is hook up an oil pressure gauge. This is not for this demo, but I'm just telling you. And we'll see what the pressure is at idle when it's cold and idle when it's hot and clacking. And then we may look up and see if these engines are notorious for having an oil pump that has a problem. And maybe we'll drop the pin and change the pump, or maybe even change bearings. We'll see. So while I'm waiting, for this to heat up. I'm gonna wait. This one's still cold. I can reach down there safely and grab this one as long as I don't put my hand into the belt down there, and as long as I don't put my hand into the fans, which are still off. It's been running for about 2 minutes, so since about 10:32. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on the time so we can see how long it takes for that thermostat to open up. So I'm going to take this pedal depressor, put this underneath the steering wheel, put this to the gas pedal, take it up to about 2,000 RPM to help it warm up faster. So let's go inside the car and I'll show this to you. So I can kind of just set this camera here, at least I hope I can, and go here down to the gas pedal and start triggering it up. You can see the tach is going up to about 1,800 RPM. I'll go ahead and squeeze this just a hair more. And there it's up at 2,000 RPM, and I'll leave it there. And you can see the temperature gauge over there, where it is. And here now it's 36 minutes. This hose feels warm now. After 4 minutes, this feels warm. This hose down here feels completely cold. So obviously that top hose doesn't have the thermostat in it. This one right here doesn't lead to the thermostat because it's getting pretty warm now. And the other one down there is cold. So like we thought, the one that leads, the one that's cold or gets warm last leads to the thermostat. So that means that we've already confirmed that the thermostat's under that little aluminum cover down there. Check this again. It's nice and warm. Check this down here. It's completely cold. We're at 37 right now. So we are at 40 minutes now, or 10:40, and this hose down here is getting hot. The thermostat's just open, and I need to put that cap back on. So we know that this thermostat's open because that's really hot. This is really hot. So it took about 8 minutes for the thermostat to open. And now you can see they're up near 210 degrees. And the fan is not working. So we're going to see how long it takes for those fans to come on. Okay, the fans just did now come on. And it came on at 10:45. And the temperature inside so I took the pedal depressor out and the fan did just shut off and the temperature dropped down a little bit. It was a little above 210 and you can sure hear the lifter clacking like I was telling you about. So this is obviously got some issues. So just to review, now that it's quiet, when I felt this hose, it was getting warm. This one was still cold. And then right when that one got hot, I looked at the clock and I think it was 8 minutes in. It was, I think we started at 32, it was 40. So I knew the thermostat had opened and went all the way to about, what was it, 44 before the fans came on. But I did confirm that the thermostat opened. I did confirm where the thermostat is, and I did confirm that the fans are working. So I've checked this cooling system out pretty thoroughly. Obviously the car's got some other issues. Let me show you one other thing. Okay, so what we're going to do here is show you how to change a serpentine belt with the serpentine belt tool. So it's got a ratchet, it's reversible, it has a little switch right there. You can reverse it, it has a series of sockets. show you how to replace the serpentine belt, which is supposed to be done every 60,000 miles is a service interval. So this crankshaft here is driving the serpentine belt around a tension, spring-loaded tensioner, around an alternator, to a power steering pump, to a water pump, to an AC compressor for air conditioning, and then back to the crank. So on this spring-loaded tensioner, there's a 3/8 square hole right there, and we have a tool that goes into that hole. Here it is right here. So we'll put that goes in like that, but we're going to put it on the serpentine belt tool. I'll come really close so you can see it. So I'll put the serpentine belt tool in here, go inside here, and you can see that this thing ratchets, and so I can take this guy off, just pull the belt off, and there it goes. Okay. Now if I go into Mitchell ProDemand under engine mechanical cooling system, it'll give me a drive belt routing. Let's see if I can get this thing back on properly. So I believe it goes like this, and it goes up around like this, and like this. I'll do this one last, this guy here, and this guy there, and this guy there. So it's back on. It's pretty easy to do when you're not in the car. A bit harder to do when you are in the car. And so I'm just checking to make sure all the group, I got one that's not lined up there. Now it's all lined up. And so I want to make sure they're all lined up carefully. And I'm back in there. And that's how you can change a serpentine belt with a serpentine belt ratcheting tool. There are Subarus now and some other cars that don't have spring-loaded tensioners anymore because these tend to vibrate, make a little noise. Now they just have a straight bearing here, and it's a stretch-to-fit belt, and they have a special tool to stretch it on and off. Anyways, okay, that's that. And we'll look up now on ProDemand where that fan switch was, etc., on the other car. All right, Auto One, what we're going to do is go over here to Mitchell ProDemand, open that. This is our service information system that we have a $1,000 subscription to. And we'll go to 2008 Chevy Silverado. And it's got the 4.8 liter engine with an extra cab. It is rear-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. We'll use this vehicle. And we'll go here to, first we can go to component locations. And we can go to component locator. And it should be a fan switch. So we're going to look for cooling fan, engine coolant level switch. That's not it. We're going to see if we have a fan switch. And it looks like we don't. So it might be cooling fan switch. So it might be under sensors. So we'll look for cooling or fan switch, or it might just be engine coolant temperature sensor. So it might be this guy right here that's used for the fan. We don't know, but we'll look at the picture and we'll go blow it up a little bit. And what we get here is it says that cooling fan switch, engine coolant temperature sensor, is number 6. So this is the engine we're looking at. I'm going to back out just a hair and then pull this down here. So it's right there on the passenger side of the engine, on the cylinder head right there. So that's actually pretty easy to get to. So I'm going to close this. We're going to go to wiring diagrams right here. And I'm going to hit system wiring diagrams 1500. I'm going to go to engine performance. Actually, let's go to cooling fan. And on the cooling fan, let's go find the fans. Here they are, left engine cooling fan, right engine cooling fan. And they come out of, there's relays. This is the underhood fuse block, and there's a couple relays here. But it says, what I'm looking for is, the engine coolant temperature sensor on the left side of the engine. That's what's giving input
to the computer, to the engine control module. Sorry, that was a mistake. To the engine control module. So it's that coolant sensor that's talking to the computer. Sorry. Here, talking right to the computer there. Let me see if I can get this to move. Yeah. So this is talking to the computer and then telling the fans to go on. So that's what we wanted to know. So that's on the left-hand side of the engine, which is driver's side front of that cylinder head. All right, that's it for now.